guys, welcome back to Asher Books. Today I'm going to be doing my January part 2 wrap up. January is finally over. I don't know about you guys, but that was probably the longest month ever. But it was actually a really good reading month for me. So I read a lot of really good books, a lot of like different kind of books. So I'm really excited to talk to you about them today. First couple of books are all YA books, and so I was really happy to kind of pick up some different kind of titles that I haven't been picking up lately. So the first one was A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi. So I already knew I loved Tahereh Mafi's writing because I love the Shatter Me trilogy, but obviously this is her first kind of contemporary novel, and I was really excited to pick it up. I loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So this book follows Shirin, who is a teenager. Shirin is a Muslim American teenager living in the United States. Her parents are originally from Iran, but she was born in the United States. She's an American citizen. But the story takes place kind of directly following 9/11. So it takes place a few months after 9/11 happened. This story really shows how there can be so much hate in her high school and in the world in general, and it's kind of her figuring out her way. I just think this is such an important book to read. Yes, that was in 9/11, but things like this still happen now. You know, Shirin also was very closed off, very kind of, I guess you'd say, a little bit cold, just because she's been hurt so many times by things people have said and kind of being like shunned. So it's her also figuring out that even though there are bad people who say very hurtful, very wrong things, that she doesn't have to shut out everyone from her life, and she can kind of let people in. There is a love story in here as well, which was really cute. But I have to say the love story wasn't my favorite part of this book. It was just kind of watching Shirin find herself and find kind of who she was in this world of kind of not always the best people. So if you haven't read this, I definitely recommend, especially if you already like Tahereh Mafi's writing. It was fantastic. So the next two are a duology, and I read Daughter of the Pirate King, and then I also read Daughter of the Siren Queen, both by Tricia Levenseller. As you can see, I was very much so using my library this month, so good job me, because that was another one of my goals for this year. So this duology was so much fun. I highly recommend this if you're just looking for a really fun swashbuckling tale. So this story follows, obviously I'll talk more about the first one, it follows Alosa, who is daughter of the Pirate King, and she's kind of being raised by him. She is very much so a pirate. You know, she likes that lifestyle, but she is also a bit of a girl. She likes her clothes and things like that. I feel like I saw someone kind of explain this as like a bit like a Pirates of the Caribbean with like a female Jack Sparrow. I would agree to a certain extent. It definitely had the kind of fun aspect of it and the like, I love being a pirate aspect of it. But I would say Alosa has a few more morals than Jack Sparrow does, but I still think you like it if you like that movie. So basically in the beginning of the story, her father gives her this mission to find this missing object that they need to find a certain place on another person's pirate ship. And in order to do that, she has to get herself captured. So this whole time you can see what's happening from her perspective. So you kind of know that she's kind of faking being captured, because she is very talented and she is just such a kick-butt heroine. I loved her. But you kind of see her getting captured by this other pirate crew, and on that crew, kind of our other, I'd say, main character is Ridden. I think that's how you say his name. And he is brother of the kind of captain there. Their father was killed. Well, they killed him, so they're kind of the head of the crew now. I loved this. Like, the second one just really kind of continues on the story. The first one, so there is a really good love story in this too, and I have to say this was a really good like YA angsty swoon-worthy love story. If you're looking for that, I loved it. It wasn't like the main part of the story, but I would say it was a good portion, and it definitely had a lot of the like character development in that part of the story. I loved it. I love the way it wrapped up in book 2. If you're just looking for a really fun YA series to kind of like dive into and just kind of enjoy yourself, definitely recommend these two books. I gave them both 5 stars, by the way. So the next book after that I read was Finding Alexei by Kendall Ryan. This book I gave 4 stars. It probably is more like a 3.5. I might actually go back and look at that. So I really enjoy Kendall Ryan's books typically, and this one had like a baby in it. I'm a sucker for a baby in a book, okay? But it was kind of missing something for me. So this book follows our main character, who's roommate basically leaves one day and leaves her infant child with her, so she kind of is forced to kind of help raise this baby. In steps Alexei, who's a professional football player, NFL player, and he is kind of like the baby whisperer, and he has a bunch of like siblings and cousins and things, so he's kind of like helping her. It was definitely a super fast romance. I mean, it happened like that. If you do like a baby in a book and like that kind of relationship, maybe you'll like it. It's not a bad book. It definitely was fun. It was a quick read. It was enjoyable. I just felt like a lot of her other books I loved more because they had like something else with the characters, something else. Everything almost just seemed a little bit too easy in this story, you know? There was no kind of spark that was like, oh, that's the challenge, you know, to overcome. So I don't know, it wasn't my favorite. Next one I read was called Fool Me Once by Nicole Williams. This one I also gave 3 stars to. I love Nicole Williams' earlier work, and I've read a lot of it, and I'm sure that there's other works of hers that I would enjoy more. This one in particular, again, I feel like these 2 books together, I didn't love them as much as I hoped I would, but this one does have a trope that I really like, which is like the fake relationship trope. I don't know, I love that trope. So this one is a second chance kind of romance too, so it's got that as well. Basically it's about a rock star. He's like, I don't remember if he was a country or regular like rock music star, but he grew up in a really small town and was dating his high school sweetheart. He became really famous and got like a record deal at like 17 or 18, left town, broke up with his girlfriend, and kind of she never heard from him again. So flash forward 10 years, it's their 10-year reunion at high school, and he comes back and basically has this like deal with her that if she becomes his girlfriend to help him improve his image, that he will give her all this money she needs for her farm. I mean, it is kind of a ploy. I mean, you find out pretty quickly that he still has feelings and just is this kind of his in to like kind of rekindle things because he was such a jerk before. I thought this was a good story. I liked the guy character, actually. I liked him a lot. I thought he was very sweet. He was very open with what he like wanted. But our female character, for some reason, just didn't click with me. There's nothing particularly wrong about her. I didn't connect to either one, honestly, that much. And I think that was the reason I didn't love it, because with those tropes, you'd think I would have loved it because I'm a sucker for both of those. Well, not so much second chance, but I love a good fake relationship. So anyways, if you like those 2 tropes, definitely give it a try. Or if you like musicians, it was a fun read again, fun way to spend a few hours, but just wasn't super my favorite. So the next one that I read was Moonlight Sent by Jennifer Armentrout. This book I had been meaning to get to for forever, and I finally did, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I actually listened to it on audiobook, which was really good, so I definitely recommend that. So this book follows our main character. Is it Julia? I'm having a bit of a brain fart, but I'm pretty sure her name is Julia, and she's a nurse. She's kind of had a big life change. She's gotten a divorce a couple of years ago, and she's just kind of trying to find herself. She's like late 20s, I believe. And so she takes this travel nursing job to a family right outside of like New Orleans. And this story follows the DeVincent family, and they're the ones who hire her to take care of somebody in their family. The story really does revolve around all the DeVincent brothers. And this is a family that's very wealthy. They're very well known like in New Orleans society. They have this huge kind of creepy mansion house, and there's a lot of rumors going around about the fact that they're kind of cursed and that the women specifically in their life, bad things just keep happening to them. Mothers, you know, sisters, wives, things like that. So Julia comes in, and she is just such a like breath of fresh air, I'd say. Main DeVincent in this story is Lucien DeVincent, and obviously it is going to be the love story between him and Julia. I just love this story. It had a little bit of everything. It had some creepiness because of kind of the like myths of going around the house. It had a mystery aspect to this, which I will say I did figure out the mystery fairly early on, so that wasn't necessarily what captured me. It was just the writing and the creepy quality and the fact that I loved the characters. Lucien was very much so your brooding kind of, he's had a bit of a past. He's known as like a complete player character, and it was just really fun to read about him, and I loved Julia. I just thought she had such a good head on her shoulders, and her decisions were all things that I would make. You know, when you're reading a character and you're like, don't do it, do not do it, but I feel like her, I was like, yeah, that was a good choice, good job. So that was always fun when you're like rooting for the character because they're actually a very smart woman. So yeah, I definitely cannot wait to read the second one of these, which follows the next De Vincent brother. I just think they're really like interesting male characters to read about. So the last two books I read are in the same series, and the first one was Hardhitter, which is book 2 in the Brooklyn Bruiser series. This one follows Julie and Ari, and Julie is kind of one of the senior members on the team who's been on for a really long time. Ari is I think it's like a massage therapist, but she also does like yoga and things like that. And it's kind of their story. I really liked this. I thought they were really opposites, the two of them. Like I wouldn't have pitted them together, like from reading the first book. But this was really good. It was kind of, you know, Julie's never really been interested in a relationship. Ari was in a really long-term relationship that just did not go well, and she felt like, do I even want another relationship after that whole mess? This one also has a bit of a mystery in it because something is happening with said previous relationship. Ties Ari into all of this huge mess with kind of crime and things like that. So I really liked this. I don't know if it was my favorite in the series. I gave this one 4 stars, but it was definitely a really good continuation. The last one I read was Pipe Dreams by Serena Bowen, which is book 3? 3 in Brooklyn Bruisers. So this one I think might have been my favorite. So I give this one 5 stars, and this is definitely a second chance romance, so I think those are growing on me because I used to not like them, and now it seems like I do. So this one follows Mike Beacon, and he is the goalie, and Lauren. And you met Lauren in the first 2 books, or at least the second book. Lauren is very much portrayed as like the ice queen, very closed off. It's not that she's not like nice, like she is a nice person, but just very kind of icy, if that makes sense. So obviously things have happened in the past, and I loved seeing these two characters, and like, because it definitely flashes back and forth between. So Lauren and Beacon dated a few years ago. This was, I think it was like 3 years ago, and something happened that made them break up, and it was not a good breakup. So that's when she kind of moved to the head offices and had nothing to do with the team anymore. They haven't even spoken in like 3 years. So this book really shows both sides because it shows when they weren't together before, kind of what happened, and then him really winning her back over and her really opening up again and becoming kind of the real person. I just really love this story. I think it's because they were two characters again that from just reading it and not knowing their history, you're like, really, those two, wouldn't have thought. But she just does such a wonderful way of working their kind of histories into their current, and it had really just a lot going on in the story. So I loved it. It was really good, and I highly recommend the Brooklyn Bruiser series if anyone's looking for a good sports romance in general, but definitely a hockey romance. Hey guys, so those are all the books I read for the second half of January. Let me know what you guys are reading. Have you read any of these? What was your favorite book of the month that you read? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!